the host of the Daily Stoic podcast and best-selling author of Wisdom Takes Work, Ryan Holiday. The former Democratic governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, and she's a CNN contributor and pollster at Echelon Insights, Kristen Soltis Anderson. Okay. First one is from the people for you, Ryan. Which book do you think should every American read? Good question. I heard Obama's going to have a podcast just about books. He's going to, Oprah thing, book club. I think it gets people reading books. Books are like dinosaurs now. What is that? What book do you think every?
I mean, this is an obvious pick, but I think Gatsby is the greatest American novel, maybe the greatest one in English. Yeah, you don't agree?
I could not disagree more.
What?
You know, it's a. Okay, it's a pretty good book. They've made it into a movie so many times, and it always sucks. And the last time I watched it and it sucked, I went, maybe it's the book. Really? Why do you think it's so great?
To me, Gatsby is the American dream, and it's also, the careless people smashing things up.
Yeah.
The green light is the aspiration. I like that, trying to get back to a simpler time. And at the same time, we also have the carelessness of the rich, the indifference of the rich, the ridiculousness of the rich. And then, speaking of books, my favorite scene is they walk into the library, and he has this enormous display of books. And then Carraway finds out none of them have ever actually been opened. The pages haven't been cut, which is how books were. We talk a lot about books. People have opinions about books. People have opinions about the Odyssey. But if people actually read them, they actually read them more than once, I think there's something there, too.
I have a lot of books in my house I haven't read. I just love the way books look. I have a whole, they do.
Do you organize
I've read books. I've read plenty of books, but like a lot of books I haven't read.
Do you organize them by color? How do you organize them?
I organize them by color. Wow, I'm anal. I'm not that bad. I mean, no, I like it, the fact that there's all different colors. It makes for a wall. Nothing else makes a wall, I think. It's a great look, but that's me. Book, what book would you recommend?
I would recommend C.S. Lewis' The Screwtape Letters. And while it is a Christian book, it's not a proselytizing book. It's a book about what goes on in the mind when you are being tempted away from your values, and how we think somebody's temptation to do something bad is it's obvious. And instead it's about how the little voice inside your head, just tiny little things, little annoyances, can lead you down a path away from what you truly believe is important.
I always thought C.S. Lewis was Christian proselytizing.
Well, it is a Christian book, and I don't think it's not hiding it whatsoever, but it's not a book that is intended to be about here's why Christianity is great. It's a book that's here's why the devil is sneaky.
So if I read it, on which page would I throw it against the wall?
I don't think you would. That's my challenge to you. Give it a try.
I'm kidding. Andrew, what's your favorite book?
I'd have a book just for Democrats.
Boy, you are true blue.
Even bluer. Reason to Believe by Mario Cuomo, God rest his soul.
Oh, gee.
My father. And I'll tell you, it is a very succinct read of what the Democratic Party is supposed to be about, what the heart and soul and a mission of the Democratic Party was supposed to be about. And we've lost that. Reason to Believe, Mario Cuomo. He was a great voice for it, but he was a better writer about it.
Okay, that's your dad.
Yep.
Panel, what are your thoughts on Trump saying he will declare the Strait of Hormuz a territory of the United States? I cannot keep up with this guy. I mean, every day there's a new version of the Strait of Hormuz. It's like Mary Hartman. Now it's going to be a territory of the United States? Wow. Okay. But it looks like we don't even control it. I mean...
No, it means nothing. It means nothing. Like every other statement, it means nothing. We have peace, we have war. I'm going to bomb, I'm not going to bomb. We have a deal, we don't have a deal.
What does the panel think of reports that sailors aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln have tried to jump overboard amid terrible conditions and a record 250 consecutive days at sea? That makes my blood boil.
Didn't Trump say today that it hasn't been out long enough? That's what he said. His response was, it hasn't been out at sea long enough. So this is a guy that supposedly supports the troops. This is To be away from your family that long for a war we shouldn't be in at all. But by the way, we're losing is insane.
His thinking is 250 days. They haven't gotten used to it yet. That's what he's thinking. I mean, it's bizarre.
I've used this phrase before, but, you know, Republicans, they have this patriotic immunity. Like, they can do things that are so unpatriotic, and they don't seem to pay a price for it the way a Democrat would. When I hear about troops being on a ship where the toilets aren't working, and there's not enough food, and they're so morose about this that at least one of them jumped off the ship, it just makes my blood boil.
Well, this is also why it's so important that if you are going to do something like commit American troops to a war, where war is hell, it has to be for a reason that's a very good reason that you've communicated very well to everybody who's involved. And for these soldiers to feel on this ship, not only are they being let down by the actual conditions that they are in, but to also not feel like they're there for any kind of mission that is worth fighting. I mean,
I disagree with that. There was a mission worth fighting. We fucked it up, how we did it. Iran having a nuclear weapon, Iran being the actor in the Middle East that has fucked everything up in that region for the last 50 years. Changing that dynamic was not an unreasonable thing to try. They did it at the wrong time. They fucked it up. They should have done it when the people were in the streets. They didn't, and now we're here where they are.
So I will agree with you that the world is better off with Iran not having a nuclear program, that we are better off, that we have gotten rid of an enormous amount of their capabilities.
It's not just
but we've gotten ourselves into a situation now where folks are deployed in the Middle East who, you know, it's thankfully not nearly as many as used to be coming home on a regular basis during Iraq and Afghanistan, but we're still losing American lives over there.
We're drifting away from the point, which is that $1 trillion defense budget, and you can't put food on a aircraft carrier. I mean, it's just, some of it speaks to just competence, and that should go down the chain, as they say in the military.
Well, that one was unbelievable. You know, the first, that he didn't lay out the case to the American people before he started, I think it was a big mistake. Because you're right, there was a case to lay out. He just didn't do it. It was just Venezuela yesterday, and now we're going to do this.
No, he did.
Yeah,
he did,
once he started, and then we weren't prepared. We have the greatest military on the globe. How are we running out of weapons? I mean, it's incredible.
Andrew, is there a legitimate, I know why this is for you, is there a because you're in this business now, you're in the crypto business. Is there a legitimate real-world use for cryptocurrency, or is it just an avenue for criminals and corrupt politicians? I don't think they mean you by that, but I mean, but you are in, it's so interesting to me what politicians do. Like John Boehner left politics and he went into the pot business. He and I are in the same business now. We are. The Woods, the best pot store. It's on Santa Monica Boulevard. John Boehner went into psychedelic. Rick Perry went into psychedelics. That's his business now. Rick Perry, former governor of Texas. You went to crypto. Why would you want to get into such a dirty business?
Yeah, well, dirty business is a broad statement. 2014, I became interested in the industry. I was governor of New York. We were the first to regulate it because the technology, the financial technology is revolutionary and can do great, great things if properly used. This blockchain technology and these smart contracts, it can make transactions faster, cheaper, more accessible for people. I work with a company called OKX. We just did a partnership with ICE, which owns the New York Stock Exchange, which I believe is the best exchange on the globe. He says as an arrogant New Yorker. But you will be able to buy tokenized stock 24/7 globally with tokenized securitization. I mean, it's going to change the whole industry. But it has to be done right. And it has to be regulated, and it has to be clean.
But the whole point of it is that it's not regulated. That's the whole reason they started it, because they don't want regulation.
Only in this country. Only in this country. Europe, 30 countries agreed on a common regulatory scheme, have a common regulator. We can't get the Senate and the House to agree for our own regulations in this country. That's what happened here. We still don't have regulations in place. That's the controversy about the Clarity Act that was supposed to pass and finally put in regulations.
Well, whatever it is, here I know it's used by hackers and sex traffickers and kidnappers. What? Am I wrong?
Well, it's also used
What
by
is
a
the
lot.
Stoic view on crypto? No, really? Where do the Stoics come in?
Seneca's line was, "It's okay to be rich as long as your money's not stained in blood." So it matters what industry you're in. It matters how you make your money. It matters who you're in business with. So I do think there's some sketchy things about the industry, and there's probably a reason that our president likes it so much.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, Andrew.
That's why it has to be done right. That's why it has to be regulated. That's why it has to be clean. That's why it has to be compliant. Look, before I was governor, I was
We have that. Like money itself, it doesn't exist either. It's all about we just believe it. We just believe the bank has the money. They don't really have the money, right? So what's the point of just having this new thing that's just in the air and in our minds? Because that's regular.
You're focusing on the coins. I'm focusing on the technology. The technology is different. It's digital ledger technology. It is instantaneous. It is faster. It is cheaper. And it will allow financial transactions disruptive because it's going to reduce the cost by reducing the intermediaries. But literally, 24/7 stock market trading, bringing trillions of dollars into this country.
But moving quickly, couldn't that also be a bad thing? Because I seem to remember when there's sort of a run on the market, what they have to do is freeze it, because otherwise we'll
The
go...
exchange will still have checks. They'll still have checks on it.
So could we just do that? We can stop the trading?
Well, it'll go through ICE, which is the largest exchange globally.
ICE.
New York Stock, different ICE. Intercontinental Exchange, which owns the New York Stock Exchange.
All right, we'll wind up with this one. Ryan, are there any modern leaders who you think are doing a good job modeling Stoic virtues? Good question.
Well, I think these days we obviously see more people modeling the opposite of Stoicism. You know, you have your Elon Musks of the world waking up every day, freaking out about things that are not in his control. One of my Stoic heroes, modern Stoic heroes, most of the people I read about are dead, but I think General Mattis is not just an embodiment of the idea, but he famously carries the Stoics with him on his deployments, and certainly, you know, watching this situation unfold now, we miss that kind of adult supervision in the Pentagon these days.
Yeah, I mean, Elon, a lot of people say, well, it's the ketamine talking when he does crazy stuff.
It's also the social media. It's bad for your brain.
I mean, you know, it's not out of school. He's talked about his drug use. Is there a place within Stoicism for doing drugs?
Well,
I'm asking for a friend.
Yes. I might point you to a philosophy called Epicureanism. That seems more your style. But they have more in common than they do differences.
All right. Well, thank you very much. You're all very entertaining.
Thank you all.
You were a fantastic crowd. We'll see you next week. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.